Hi everyone, welcome. I open by framing the topic as both practical and deeply human. A high potential list may be a useful starting point, but it is not the real work. The real work begins after identification, in how leaders observe, encourage, challenge, support, and create space for people to grow. There is something meaningful about seeing a journey from its very beginning, from the first recruitment conversation to the early signs of curiosity, courage, and learning agility. At that stage, potential is rarely perfect or obvious. It is still forming. Leadership requires us to see not only what someone is today, but what they may become with the right environment and encouragement. A high potential list can create visibility, structure, and focus. However, it can also become too static if we are not careful. The list itself does not build capability. It does not create confidence, stretch, exposure, or judgment. Those things come from deliberate leadership investment. Therefore, after identification, the real leadership question becomes, what are we doing with this knowledge? Potential should not be treated as a permanent label. People change. Their motivation, confidence, life stage, opportunities, and exposure all affect how potential unfolds. Some people who are identified may eventually leave if they do not see sufficient growth. Others who were not initially visible may develop strongly with the right challenge. A healthy talent process must therefore be dynamic, humble, and regularly refreshed. Leadership is not merely about identifying who is strong today. It is about creating the conditions for people to become stronger tomorrow. This requires active observation, not passive assumption. It requires leaders to give people meaningful work, constructive challenge, and opportunities to be seen. It also requires patience, because growth is not always immediate or linear. AI can be useful. It can help organize information, identify patterns, and reduce administrative effort. But high potential judgment cannot be reduced to data alone. Leaders must understand context, how someone responds under pressure, how they work with others, whether they learn from feedback, whether they influence positively, and whether their ambition is matched by responsibility. This distinction between data and judgment is important. When we say someone has potential, we are not simply giving a label. We are taking responsibility for what follows. We may influence their confidence, their access to opportunities, and how others perceive them. That is why this work must be handled thoughtfully and ethically. It should never be about favoritism or prestige. It should be about stewardship. Personally, I see high potential not as a one-way benefit given to an individual, but as a cycle of mutual growth. The organization recognizes and invests. The individual grows, contributes, and eventually helps others grow. In this sense, recognition should come with humility and responsibility. It is not a privilege to be consumed, it is an opportunity to contribute back. We often speak about opportunity as if it appears naturally, but in reality, opportunities are created. Leaders create visibility by putting people in the right forums. They create stretches by trusting people with meaningful assignments. They create learning through mentorship. And they create movement through sponsorship. Without these actions, potential can remain hidden or underused. The benefit of high potential management should go beyond filling one role. Done well, it builds a stronger leadership culture and a wider talent pipeline. Even when people move across teams or eventually leave, the relationship and influence may continue. A mature organization does not only ask, who can replace whom? It asks, how do we keep developing people, so the system remains strong? This is where the role of HR and leaders becomes strategic. HR does not simply administer a process. Leaders do not simply nominate names. Together, they become stewards of human potential. The goal is not only to identify future leaders, but to create a culture where people believe growth is possible, contribution is expected, and leadership is developed intentionally. I close by inviting personal reflection. Most of us grew because someone saw something in us before it was fully proven. Someone gave us a chance, trusted us with work, corrected us, encouraged us, or advocated for us. The closing challenge is to continue that cycle, to be intentional about who we notice, who we invest in, and whose journey we help shape. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy my sharing.